Gambling. Games of chance. We've all played them in one form or another, whether a roll of the dice or a spin of a roulette wheel. The outcome is determined solely by the laws of probability. We simply place a wager and hope for the best. But this program isn't about conventional gambling. It's about another kind of risk. You know the kind I'm talking about. No winners in this game, only losers. And when you bet your life. Let me get right to the point. I don't care who you are, who you're working for, or where you happen to be digging. Anyone undertaking an excavation using power-operated equipment, whether digging a post hole in your backyard, working in the city, or putting in a drainage ditch on the family farm. Anyone doing this without first knowing what lies below ground is taking a terrible chance. The risk factor? Let's just say it's not unlike spinning this wheel of hit and miss. If there are any gamblers out there, go ahead and place your bets. Maybe I'll spin it only once, maybe several times. Either way, the game continues until I score a hit. The odds? You decide. And believe me, you do decide, in more ways than one. Ready? Lucky, this time. Now let's go to the root of the problem.
What you can't see won't hurt you? It simply doesn't apply. Not when dealing with the vast network of underground facilities linking consumers to essential services and supplies. These exist wherever there are people. People in cities, rural communities, or on farms. From high voltage power cables to water lines, they are silently there, hidden, below ground. Think of a tree. At first glance, a trunk supporting a network of branches and foliage. But it is the unseen root system, often as large and as intricate as the surface growth itself. Cables, water, sewer, and drainage lines, facilities transporting oil, gas, and petroleum products, not to mention communication services, telephone, cable TV, even public transportation. But it doesn't stop there. On a much larger scale, pipeline systems crisscross the country, transporting essential crude oil, gas, and other liquid hydrocarbon products. Millions of barrels of liquid hydrocarbon products are transported to delivery points across Canada every day. The safest known means of transporting liquid hydrocarbons, pipeline other essential services, pipelines help to sustain a way of life we have come to depend on. Unseen, like the roots of a giant tree, they remain hidden underground. But just because they are out of sight, never should they be out of mind.
A propane pipeline explosion. The last thing in my mind at that time was fire. I didn't work for the petrochemical industry, so it wasn't a risk for me, I thought. And that day I was just driving And then I started to find out what had actually happened. What had happened was a contractor was working around the line. He'd made a hit on it, backfilled it. Unfortunately, over a period of time, of course, the line had corroded. There'd been a leak, and I happened to be the person driving along that ended up igniting it. My truck actually ignited it. And you know, I look back on it, And it was one of these things that never ever should have happened. There were services at that time where the line could have been checked, to see if it was there, and there definitely are those services now. So one thing I really want to make very, very strong here is make use of these services. Because not only can they save your life, but they can also save the lives and definitely affect the lives of many other people.
Peter Clark was fortunate. He escaped with his life. Others haven't been so lucky. People have been fatally injured, tragically, needlessly. Millions of dollars of damage has been done to facilities, equipment, and the environment. Why? Because someone, somewhere, didn't take the time to call and find out what lay below ground. It's as simple as that. Perhaps they forgot. I don't think so. Perhaps they didn't think it was important. Maybe. And if so, call before you dig. How many times have we heard that expression? Unfortunately, not always has the message had its intended effect. And that's why there are still people out there who continue to take risks. Gamblers who continue to play a lethal game of chance. It won't happen to me, they say. It's always the other guy, right? Not on your life. Still alive, for now.
Anyone planning an excavation using power-operated equipment is first required to contact local facility owners before commencing work. Often, warning signs indicate the presence of underground facilities in the area, but this is not always the case. Always call and find out in advance. If underground facilities do exist, they will be located and identified using temporary markings, a service that is free of charge. Color codes are extremely important. While not all facility owners have adopted the same coding system, it remains very important that you confirm color markings when you see them. Red indicates electric power lines, cables, conduit, and lighting systems. Blue, water, irrigation, and slurry lines. Yellow is for oil, gas, steam, and petroleum products, while green indicates sewage and drainage lines. Orange, communication systems, alarm and signal lines. White indicates a proposed excavation. Fluorescent pink, survey markings indicating, among other things, the presence of a right-of-way. Pipelines may be likened to contained rivers flowing underground. If you are planning an excavation within 30 meters of a pipeline right-of-way, you must notify the pipeline company before commencing work. If the work involves activity within the right-of-way itself, written permission is required. Either way, permission should be sought well in advance, allowing a minimum of 3 working days prior to commencing work. Company representatives will then place temporary markings indicating the location of underground facilities. For any mechanical excavation or potentially hazardous activity undertaken near an underground or surface facility, a company representative must always be notified. Ramps especially following their construction. Check for warning signs. Under no circumstances does the absence of warning signs indicate an absence of underground facilities. Signs, in some instances, may be missing, having been stolen or vandalized. Should you become aware of any damaged signs, contact the company. Warning If no warning signs are present, and if you are unsure how to get the information you need, contact your local authorities. Should these precautions not be taken and facilities are damaged due to your negligence, you may be held responsible. The cost, not just in financial terms, can be dear. Emergency Rescue Coordinator and Firefighter Tim Vandenbrink.
You're looking at, number one, very preventable accidents, and you're also looking at accidents that have the potential to affect a large number of people, not just the workers in the immediate area, but certainly the community at large. You're looking at accidents that have the potential of becoming catastrophic. They require a large turnout of emergency response people. Certainly all emergency services, be they medical, police, fire, are involved, and in many of these situations you're looking at a greater risk of injury to emergency response people. What's frustrating for those of us in emergency response roles is that many of these accidents are so preventable. People can call before they dig. I mean, it's well advertised, the numbers are available, and it's a free service to them. People will come out and mark out everything that's of danger and anything of concern in that area. That's the frustration. You're looking at accidents that can do millions of dollars in property damage, and more importantly, that cause life loss and severe lifelong injuries, and so preventable.
I hope this is beginning to sink in. There are just too many misconceptions out there. Too much is at stake. For you, for your families, for all concerned.
Excavating without prior knowledge as to what facilities may lie below ground is an extremely dangerous undertaking. Due to soil and water conditions over time, not all underground facilities may be buried at a uniform depth. Any work involving power-operated equipment must be approved in advance. Even when using handheld equipment, such as a post-hole auger, caution must be taken to avoid damaging facilities servicing your own home. Permanent markers indicating underground facilities in the vicinity of your work site are not always exact. Often they indicate only approximate locations or the presence of facilities existing nearby. Never should you be in doubt. Always call to have facilities identified. If accidental contact is made with an underground facility, no matter how minor, stop work. Shut off all ignition sources and do not fill in the excavation. Immediately contact the facility owner and/or local authorities. Often, minor contact may result in internal or external damage that cannot readily be seen. Such damage may cause the facility to deteriorate, in some cases leading to an operation failure, or worse, a line rupture. Prior to commencing work, any instructions or written communication received from a facility owner must be shared with all parties involved in the excavation. Everyone on the work site at all times must be informed. If you have already received permission to excavate, and either the location or the scope of your work alters in any way, you must contact the facility owner again. Think ahead. Prior to an excavation, contact the underground facility owner well in advance. Include this step as an essential part of your working plan. Allow enough lead time. Inform all subcontractors. Again, if the location or scope of your work alters in any way, ensure that you consult the facility owner a second time. Remember, any piece of excavating equipment is potentially a dangerous weapon. The responsibility is yours. Don't take the chance. Call before you dig.
Or miss. A lethal game of chance. It could happen, and it could happen to you. Think about it. Your safety is on the line.